Hey everybody, let's talk about something I have not talked very often about. I hope everybody likes my title. I think I just might make really fun titles from now on. A lot of titles about erections. This is a really important topic and it really affects men and women, and it can be very controversial, which is my favorite kind of topic. So let's dive into this. The reason that I wanted to do this video today is because I got into a very short discussion with a man on his wall. I'm not going to continue it. And I just want to start by reading what he wrote back to me, back to my comment. You're missing something. Men are not biologically designed to be with only one woman. This society hasn't taught men their true nature, so they subconsciously suppress it through monogamy. You can call him a cheater. I call him a man that couldn't suppress his true nature no longer. You can say a woman's self-worth is low because she decides to forgive a bad decision. We all got our own opinion. All right, so let's talk about this. Let's talk about a man's true nature. Let's put all the cards on the table here once and for all. All right. So first of all, let's talk. I'm gonna give a background story about my life, and I've talked about this before in bits and pieces. This is a really important part of this puzzle. So I was a virgin until I was 23. All right. Women didn't really like me. I didn't know how to attract women. And all I really wanted at that time was just, one woman to be in a relationship with and, grow old with and awesome. And then I had a major meltdown, breakthrough, whatever you want to call it. A lot of my old beliefs fell apart and I became a total man whore. I went from being completely unsuccessful with women to, basically having more sex than in a short period of time than most men do with women in, I don't know, 10 lifetimes. So, and most of it was like non-exclusive relationships, not cheating, but non-exclusive relationships and just sleeping around, being a man whore, all that kind of stuff. Now, what I learned from that, throughout that period, I believed the same thing that this man did, where it is it's in our biological nature as men to, be polyamorous, right? Because I'd slept with all these women and didn't really want, I just really loved variety. I loved sleeping around, right? This is my Peter Pan mode that we're talking about. And I actually laughed at other men that, would just settle down with one woman. Now, of course, there is a lot of issues around that. Like a lot of men do settle because they don't have options, right? So there's a big issue with that. So I really developed this belief and believed it really strongly that men, it's our biological nature to always want to sleep with other women, right? And that could never change. And basically settling with someone in an exclusive relationship, getting married, it's just some kind of compromise, and it's just what society expects and all this kind of stuff. So I've been there more than most men have been there. So I get that mindset and I get it really well. But here's the thing. Eventually I got bored of it, got married, and I thought, this will be great. Well, everything's going to be awesome and I'll be able to enjoy being with her forever. What ended up happening was the relationship became somewhat depolarized. Even though I'd done all this work on myself, I knew how to lead, all this kind of stuff. It happened. I wasn't aware of polarity. I wasn't aware of dominance, submission, wasn't aware of really how to lead a woman in a relationship. And, I never cheated on my wife, never had any thoughts of doing it, but my mind, was certainly straying and imaginative and all that kind of stuff, right? Which is very typical for any man, if they're being honest with themselves and others in most relationships, okay? Most exclusive relationships. That doesn't happen to me anymore, okay? my mind doesn't stray and think of other women. I really have no interest in other women at all, right? It's not a need that I feel in any kind of way. My need is to fuck my woman and only her, and only be exclusive with her. And I'm really not interested. Is that suppression? No, there is few men who can honestly say that they have let go of all of that societal suppression, right? I did that for a decade. It is not suppression. Here is what happened. Here is what changed. When a man polarizes himself, he polarizes a relationship, and he's going through a healing process through that, right? And he is with a woman, like we'll call it like a high value woman, a worthy woman. The more that he polarizes the relationship, the more he loses any interest in other women, right? And I could give a whole lot of biological reasons for this, right? It's like the super high value genes, right? We are programmed, like a man is programmed to spread his sperm far and wide, right? That's one mating strategy. Another mating strategy is find a super high value female and mate with her and create the highest quality genetic offspring possible, right? This is not social conditioning. This is biological programming, right? This is instinctual. This is much deeper than anything we have, you know, any kind of trauma, any kind of, you know, societal stuff that we take on from birth, or intergenerational or anything, right? So where I am at now is not just that I have no interest, even for myself, like I just really don't have interest. I just want to have sex with my wife, and that's it. But more than that, you know, when a man is mature, right, and he finds a woman that he loves, he is going to feel a very strong sense of responsibility for his woman's heart. Okay? Does being polyamorous as a man hurt his woman who loves him? Of fucking course it does, right? And I don't care what kind of justifications you give for it. I want to be free, and, you know, she consented and blah, blah, blah. Okay, that might be true, right? And I'm not being judgmental about this. I don't have any judgment. Like, I'm not judgmental about anything. I'm just showing like what men are actually doing, right? This is really important. Have I hurt women before who love me? Yes, a lot of women, right? And I own that. And my excuse was, well, they consented. It's true, right? People consent to abusive relationships, right? They stay in it. Does that make it right? No, it doesn't. Now, I'm not comparing that as equal, but I'm using that as a comparison to show the ridiculousness of consent, right? You can get people to consent to some pretty immoral, hurtful things, right? So I love my wife, and I care deeply about her heart, and I feel responsible, deeply responsible for my own actions, right? And so even if she was like, hey, you know what, she never would, by the way, like not in a billion years, but even if she was like, you know what, it's okay to sleep with other women, you know, it's no big deal, like it doesn't really bother me that much, I'm not going to do it. I would never do that, right? And it's because I take responsibility for fully for myself in the relationship, right? I want to make my wife feel as safe and happy and cherished as possible, right? That is, you know, a big part of being a man, like a healthy man in a relationship. And sleeping with other women, right? Like, you know, oh, I love everyone. Like, I love 3 different women. I love 5 different women. They are, first of all, they are only with you because they do not have high self-worth, right? That's the only reason. Or, I mean, there can be exceptions, right? It's just like they're not really serious about a relationship in that moment or whatever. But for the most part, right, a woman is going to want to be exclusive with one of the men that they are with. And it is going to hurt to not be with them, right? I want men to really think about this. I really want you to think about this vulnerable woman, right? Her beautiful heart. And, she might be really covering it up and all that kind of stuff, but, in there somewhere, it's a really beautiful, innocent, vulnerable heart. And when a woman, and it's the same for men, right? But when a woman doesn't have all of her needs met, right, with someone that she cares about, it's unbelievably painful. It's unbelievably painful, right? Some men don't even realize this, like how painful and fucked up it is, and I, like, from my life, right? I went from no success with women to so successful, like over a short period of time. My needs were always met, right? Like I at that time, I wasn't tapped into my need for devotion and stuff like that. So, I was always the one that was hurting women consensually, right? Consensually, but it was still happening. Other women, so those women, their needs were not fully getting met. And I was just kind of like, you know what, you're free to leave at any time. It's all good. And it wasn't until later on in my marriage when some of my needs actually really weren't met in a big way. And I felt like how fucking painful that is, right? It's really painful. And when I really realized it, like my low ability to understand, to empathize sometimes, and a lot of men have this. When I realized this, right, and this was with my wife, and then I realized that I'd been causing her that pain as well through a lack of polarity, through a lack of leading, all that kind of stuff, through having the same kind of mindset that I did when I was doing the whole polyamory thing, right? It's like, I'm never going to do that again. Because I never want to hurt my wife like that, right? I love her. I want to make sure that all of her needs are met, right? I want to make sure that she feels so cherished, right? And realizes how much I care about it, right? And feels that way all the time. So like looking back to these women that I dated in non-exclusive arrangements, right? And I don't know how many would have said they were in love with me. If like several actually said it, and then I know that a bunch, I think, felt it. Let's say 10, 12 women that were in love with me. I was doing something that was, because love can be a drug, right? So like they have, they're not fully in their self-worth. And so I was doing something that was really hurting them and essentially enabling them to hurt themselves by continuing to do it, right? If I was a man, not a boy, if I was a man, what I would have done is, well, I mean, there's a lot of things I would do, right? But something really important that I would do is actually have a conversation with them about, like, you should not be sleeping around with men, right? Unless a man is claiming you, this is just going to hurt you, right? This is just going to hurt you, and it's not good for you, and it's going to, cause you to, have to close off your heart, right? Like to get those unmet needs. Even though I was nice to the women, I was always nice to women in the sense that, I brought great energy. It was playful, it was fun. I was never critical, none of that stuff, right? But I wasn't responsible, right? I wasn't devotional. And this is the key, right? This is the big key. It's that fathering kind of energy, right? And like, just as an example, like the women that are in my free group or academy or whatever else now, right? Like, I'm giving this information to them because I don't want any woman to have to deal with that bullshit. I don't want any woman to have to deal with any kind of polyamorous relationship. And it's like, oh, well, this is the best that I can kind of get. And, they dishonor themselves. No, I am going to give them advice to make sure they never settle for that shit, right? Never settle for that shit, because that's what it is. That's what it is. It's only a product of a society where men are emasculated and not responsible for protecting and providing for the feminine, for women. And you know, again, I'm not being judgmental about this. I am judging men for this, but I'm not being judgmental. Just like myself, I'm not being judgmental towards myself and my past actions. No, you know, it was where I was at. It's all fine. But I learned from it. And I want men to see this too. Here's what I want men to see is that if you polarize yourself, you step into your dominance, you learn how to lead. Not just like leading on dates and like, hey, let's, you know, setting up chores in the kitchen and like all that kind of stuff. I'm talking about leading everything, right? I'm talking about leading, like becoming a femininity coach. I'm talking about leading a woman into her heart. I'm talking about leading a woman into fully opening up, being like vulnerable, you know, always treating you with respect, never leading in any kind of covert way, overt way, anything like that. Right? You help your woman develop her self-worth, right? You are that's really what you're doing, right? You're helping your woman develop her self-worth and really step into her radiance, right? And the further that you go in that direction, the less interest that you are going to have wanting any kind of polyamorous whatever, right? One of my goals when I was younger in my 20s was to have a harem, right? A harem of like 5 or 6 women. Like, I'm serious. So my beliefs have shifted to quite a large extent, right? And a big part of that is really because of my wife, right? Like, I found a woman who is not going to tolerate that bullshit, and I could feel it right from the beginning, right? Not that I really wanted it. I was kind of done at that time anyway. I was done at that time anyway. But you know, one thing that I can always say about my wife is I can feel how valuable she knows she is, right? And that she would never put herself in that kind of situation, right? But a lot of women will, and a lot of women will, even the ones that say that they won't, right? It's like, you know, it's easy to say it, right? It's easy to talk the talk, but then, you know, you meet that amazing guy, and then, you know, the chemistry's amazing, and then, you know, you sleep with him, and he hasn't claimed you yet, but you sleep with him, and then it's all the fun, addictive hormones that come out and everything. And then, you know, you're kind of at some point, for most women, their self-worth kind of goes out the window, right? That's what happens. It's just like this love drug is just too good. And it's just, you know, I'll just settle with it for now. And like, maybe he will change his mind because I'm so great and all that kind of stuff. And guess what? As soon as you start dishonoring your heart in that way, you're already communicating that you're not deserving of better, right? That's what you're communicating. And then that's probably what you're going to get. Probably what you're going to get. So what I want, right? The world that I want, the relationships that I want is one where women are so worthy. There's so much in their worth. They're so radiant. Their hearts are so exposed. They're so feminine. And men are so much in their power and their dominance, in their self-responsibility as a man. Devotional, right? Caring for a woman, cherishing a woman, protecting women even from themselves. From themselves and a man, but also from a woman from her own behavior, you know, which is, you know, a woman who's having sex when she shouldn't, right? Because she's addicted to it or whatever, right? That kind of society where men and women are like that, that's a society that we can have. And it's not going to be a polyamorous society, because that is not one where women are in their worth and men are devotional and in their dominance, right? And I want to wrap this up by going back to my marriage again, right? Where it's like, I've done all that stuff and now I have absolutely no interest in it. I don't even think about it. It's so far out of my reality. I have no interest because not just because I found an amazing woman, because even having that amazing woman wasn't enough for me to start really thinking about it and, thinking about variety and stuff again. It's because I polarized the relationship, right? I stepped into my responsibility as a man, right? And got all of my needs met. The need for a variety, no, that's like a cheap thrill. It's not a need, right? It's not a biological imperative, right? That's an excuse that irresponsible men tell themselves, men who are still boys, that seems to be backed up by a lot of, science, right? Whatever, because they're not seeing the full picture. When you see the full picture, when you've healed that, and when you're with that woman, everything changes, right? So this is a call to action for both men and women, all right? This is what we help men and women do in the academy. We help men step into their dominance and lead their woman, basically become a femininity coach, right? And get to the point where they, some men aren't that interested to begin with, but, imagine loving and caring about your woman and being so attracted to her that you're not interested in other women, and that lasts a lifetime, right? That's what we help you do by learning how to leading everything, leading your woman into her heart, leading her into her radiance. Right? That's what we help you do. Women, we help you do that as well, right? In the academy, open up into your radiance and into your self-worth, right? Is a really big piece is self-worth, right? And it's not just for, not getting into those kind of dynamics. It's for so much more than that, so much more, right? Not exposing yourself to all the bullshit. Both men and women expose themselves to bullshit, right? Men by not leading, women by not being fully in their radiance and trying to control things, and not being willing to walk away when a man is not considering her heart and needs and feelings, right? We help you shift all that. We help you shift that so you can have both men and women, that beautiful devotional union together, right? Your love life problems are solved forever. Even if something happens to that partner, you will find another one because you've done this deep healing work. Or if you're single, you're going to find that kind of partner. You will. It's inevitable. You'll just naturally attract it if you do this work. And I want that for everybody. And it can be something that's realized for everybody. But you got to be committed to this. No more bullshit procrastinating. How many excuses are you making to not step into a solution and get this stuff solved? To get real support in this, to make all these shifts? Look at your love life right now. Is it what you want? Are you getting everything that you want in your love life? Whether you're single or, well, obviously if you're single, probably not, but and in a relationship too, right? Are you getting exactly what you want and deserve? Or are you suffering? Are you in pain? Are your needs unmet? Are you not being the person that you want to be, and your partner's not being the person that you need them to be? That can all be solved. I don't care, what your situation is. I don't care what obstacles you have in the way. That can be solved, but only if you are fully committed to this. Only if you're willing to do whatever it takes. Most people don't have that level of commitment, and that's why most people will continue to suffer for the rest of their lives. But that doesn't have to be you. If you are committed to this, to doing this work, stepping into a solution that's going to give you everything that you need, the information, the support, and the practice, then I want to hear from you. I want you to send me a private message on Facebook. Let me know you watched this video. Let me know that you laughed at the title and thought it was hilarious. If you don't tell me that, then I don't want to talk to you. You have to tell me the title's hilarious. And then we'll have a conversation and find out if you're right for the Academy, if you're right for this solution. Send me a private message and let's talk.